Welcome back into ThimbleberryU. I am John Jag. I'm joined as always by Amy Walls from Thimbleberry Financial. Amy, always good to be with you.
Jag, always great to be talking to you.
So this is part 6 of 6, the final installment on our series for healthcare professionals. And very appropriately, we're concluding the series with legacy planning.
Absolutely. It's the end of the line, right? And that money doesn't get to go with you.
Right. We'll start with the basics here. We're laughing a little bit, but it is a very serious topic. Why is legacy planning so crucial for healthcare professionals?
First of all, Jag, legacy planning, estate planning is essential for everybody, not just healthcare professionals. But for healthcare professionals, I think it carries some unique importance. First, it ensures that hard-earned assets go where someone wants them to go.
Yeah.
It avoids all kinds of disputes that we've seen with different celebrities. Prince and Aretha Franklin come to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Second, it allows people to leave a lasting impact. And I think after a career of supporting and caring for others, I find with our healthcare professionals, leaving that lasting impact, whether it's for loved ones, charitable causes, or even, someone's practice, is really important.
2 really key points I want to underline there, Amy. 1, folks in the healthcare field, generally speaking, have an altruistic side to them because they're working in a field where they're helping people. So they would want their legacy to carry on. And then as we've discussed in the previous 5 parts of this series, folks in the healthcare industry tend to make larger than average salaries. So with all that money, if you don't spend it before you're gone, you want to make sure it's going to go where you want it to go. Okay, so Prince and Aretha Franklin, you mentioned. Aretha Franklin, obviously a huge story where I'm at here in Detroit because it's a local story here in Motown. But can you give some examples for both of these celebrities of what went wrong in their estate planning?
Yeah, absolutely, Jag. So both Prince and Aretha Franklin had substantial estates.
Sure.
But they made a common mistake, and that common there is the key. They didn't have proper estate planning documentation in place. So Prince, obviously a legendary musician, passed away with a revocable trust. Great. That's a slight step up in estate planning documentation. But Prince did not have a will, which is the basic estate planning document. So the result is that conflict of having one document and not the other led to a lengthy legal battle among his siblings over his estate, which was estimated to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And so without having a clear estate plan, having a trust but not having a will, it resulted in uncertainty and disputes among the heirs. That's the last thing most people want, is to set their loved ones up to fight about their assets.
And worth mentioning here, I just Googled this while you were speaking, Amy. Prince was 57 when he died. He probably was thinking he had some time left to take care of this. So this is another example of why you want to take care of this early, because you never know, sadly, what tomorrow brings.
Absolutely. You also asked about Aretha Franklin. She passed away without a will or a trust in place. So there, Prince had done some estate planning, just wasn't complete. She hadn't done any estate planning. So her estate was left to be divided amongst her 4 sons. And that created disagreements amongst them. And it also created increased estate taxes.
Yeah, because they didn't have all that planning done. These examples, they really drive home the importance of proper estate planning. Okay, let's talk about the specifics. What is the first step for our audience, healthcare professionals, when it comes to legacy planning, Amy?
Well, the first step is to set clear expectations. That might be a little bit like when I answer questions with "it depends." Clear expectations are always the starting point. People need to have a conversation with their loved ones about their wishes and about their estate planning, helping people get on the same page. But just doing that doesn't get people on the same page. We also have to get the legal documents put in place. And so that really, while it can be done on your own via some services online, when we're talking about sizable estates, using an attorney who specializes in estate planning is really valuable.
Just like for our medical professionals, you wouldn't want to Google your symptoms and diagnose yourself without talking to a professional. Same applies to estate planning. Okay, let's start with the role of trusts specifically in estate planning, Amy. Are they essential, and how can they help healthcare professionals?
Well, Jag, that's a very big question. Let's jump into the value of trusts in estate planning using the example of Prince's unfunded trust,
okay,
a revocable trust, and contrast that with wills. I think that might be our easiest method. Trusts and wills are both essential estate planning tools. I talked about that a moment ago, but they serve different purposes and offer different advantages. So trusts, like the one Prince had but didn't fund, can be incredibly valuable for healthcare professionals compared to wills.
Okay, so we're going to cover 4 areas of how trusts compare to wills: privacy, probate avoidance, control over asset distribution, and safeguarding your practice. So let's start again with the obvious one, and that's privacy.
Privacy is one of the most significant benefits of a trust. When a trust is established, its contents remain private, unlike wills, which become public record after someone passes.
Right.
That confidentiality can be particularly important for healthcare professionals who may have concerns about the disclosure of sensitive financial information. Wills, as I mentioned, are subject to public scrutiny, so anyone can access the details of someone's will, which includes your assets and beneficiaries once it goes through probate. And obviously, that lack of privacy can lead to unwanted attention and potentially disputes.
Right. Well, it's like we've seen all the headlines here, all the dirty laundry of the Franklin family has been aired here for sure.
Yep.
Okay. Avoiding probate. I know that's important for a lot of folks. How do trusts and wills compare there?
Yeah. So trusts are effective in bypassing the probate process, which can be time consuming and costly. By transferring your assets into a trust during your lifetime, you're able to ensure that they're distributed directly to your chosen beneficiaries without the need for court intervention. Now, probate, just to explain, is the court that administers wills.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, wills and things passing through a will must go through probate. Not only does the court validate the will, but they settle debts and they oversee the distribution of assets. Probate can be lengthy and it can get very expensive. And so that results in delays of distribution of assets.
Got it. Okay, well, you mentioned asset distribution, control over asset distribution. This is certainly a big piece of it, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Trusts provide a high level of control over how and when your assets are distributed. You can specify conditions and timelines around distributions. That can be especially useful for our healthcare professionals looking to protect a practice or provide ongoing financial support to their heirs.
Yep.
Wills, on the other hand, outline your wishes for asset distribution, but they don't have the same level of flexibility and control compared to a trust. So once your assets are really distributed through a will, they are no longer under your control. That, again, comes back to making them potentially, the assets, potentially vulnerable to mismanagement or disputes.
Okay, you've kind of hinted at this. The last point on this, safeguarding your practice. If you have a practice in the healthcare industry, you want to protect that after you're gone.
Absolutely. It's, much like my financial planning practice.
Right. Or my podcast production practice, if I want to call it practice. Yeah.
Absolutely. And for many of our healthcare professionals, safeguarding that practice can be a crucial aspect of what's on their mind when it comes to estate planning. And so by placing practice assets within a trust, they can ensure a more seamless transition to a designated successor or partner. And what that really does is it makes sure their clients, their patients that they have worked so hard to take care of over the years, continue to have the care they want at their passing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wills can specify wishes for a practice, but the process of transferring ownership and management through a will isn't so helpful necessarily because of the subject that probate creates and the legal complications of probate. So basically, Jag, trusts offer healthcare professionals a proactive and comprehensive approach to protect their legacy. They provide privacy, they avoid probate, offer greater control over distribution of assets, and can be effective in safeguarding that practice if someone's in private practice. And wills are necessary, right? Even more necessary than a trust because they're the step before.
Yeah.
But trusts really offer that more tailored solution to meet specific goals.
Got it. Okay.
And properly funded trusts, unlike Prince's unfunded trust, can be powerful tools in ensuring, a smooth and safe transfer of assets to beneficiaries.
Okay, so you mentioned Prince's unfunded trust. What exactly did that look like for those who aren't familiar with that term?
Basically, that assets haven't been put into the trust. So Think about your home, your cars, your bank accounts, your non-retirement investment accounts. So different than a 401k or a 403b or an IRA, the assets I just named don't have a beneficiary.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to do something to get this money to pass to heirs. If I put these assets into a trust, these assets are no longer really owned by me. They're owned by my revocable or living trust.
Okay.
And I should say there's many different forms of trust. I'm focusing on this kind of first step estate planning here with the revocable trust.
Got it.
Essentially what happens is I'm going to retitle these assets to be in the trust. So my bank accounts may be retitled in the name of my trust. Now, in some cases, and we have clients who've done this in conjunction with their estate planning attorneys, they haven't retitled that because their institution requires them to open a new account. They have to switch everything over. And from a banking perspective, that's a headache. Instead, what they've done is they've added what's called a payable on death designation, meaning at their passing or at the second passing for a couple, those assets go into the trust. So they pass them to the trust at death. So unfunded basically means that all those kinds of assets are still in my personal name rather than being in the name of my trust or being left to my trust at my passing.
So, Amy, we're into that home stretch right before Christmas. I'd imagine an unfunded trust is like taking a shopping cart through your big box store of choice and not putting anything in the shopping cart. You have the vessel, but you haven't utilized it because you actually haven't put anything into it for it to actually do what it's supposed to do.
Jag, that's a great analogy. Let's just say that shopping cart, though, the use of that shopping cart cost you $3,000 to $5,000.
That's a good point. Okay.
So, yes, correct.
Okay, so you are going through Big Box Store X in your gold-plated, monogrammed special shopping cart, but you spent all this money on the cart, but if you don't put any toys in the cart, you've just wasted that money. I appreciate you taking my analogy and furthering it. Thank you. Okay, let's pivot a bit before we wrap up, Amy. What are some common mistakes healthcare professionals specifically make when it comes to legacy planning?
So one common mistake is failing to update their estate plan regularly.
Yeah.
I'll throw an actor out this time, Philip Seymour Hoffman. He had outdated estate planning documents, and that can lead to unintended consequences, which we're pretty sure happened in his situation. In his case, the will was so old that it didn't account for the birth of his youngest child.
So that child got nothing.
So that child was not included as a beneficiary.
Got it.
Another error is not considering tax implications. So in the example I just used, there were tax consequences of that. Aretha Franklin and Prince also had them. But we know Tony from The Sopranos, and if we think about Tony, he was avoiding some taxes. Well, when James Gandolfini, who played Tony on The Sopranos, passed away, approximately 55% of his estate went to taxes because he had not kept his estate planning documents up to date.
Okay, not that I'm making light of somebody's passing, but given the character he played, that's kind of ironic.
Yeah, it is.
Finally, Amy, can you share any success stories? Let's not be all down on this episode. Let's share some success stories or examples of healthcare professionals who have effectively planned out their estates and left a positive legacy.
Yeah, well, Jag, there's many more of these stories than there are of the bad stories. It's just bias, and we don't hear about things when they go smoothly.
Right.
This is more the norm than not for especially healthcare professionals that are dealing with many times life and death situations. There are people who, through proper estate planning, have ensured the smooth transition of their practice to a trusted colleague, securing that legacy and taking care of more people in the future. Others have established charitable foundations or scholarships in their name, and that can leave behind a lasting impact on the healthcare field.
I'm glad we're ending this on a positive note, Amy, and talking about the majority of folks who do this well. Thanks for the great information as always on this. If our healthcare professionals or anybody listening have questions about estate planning, legacy planning, or really anything related to their finances that we've covered in this 6-part series or not, how do they best reach you at Thimbleberry Financial?
They can reach us online at ThimbleberryFinancial.com. We've got a little chat with us button that will allow them to reach us, or they can give us a call at 503-610-6510.
Pleasure as always, Amy. Happy holidays. We'll talk to you in January.
That sounds great.
Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Thimbleberry Financial are not affiliated. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Thimbleberry Financial are not affiliated.